Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike and today I am going to do a full-on swatching video of all of the new Catrice Full Satin Lipsticks. I have all 10 shades here, so what we will be doing is I will be swatching them for you on the back of my hand and I will be putting them on my lips for you as well, so that you can get an overview of all 10 of these shades. In the past couple of weeks I have been wearing this shade the most. This is 030 Full of Passion, and I already wore this in a couple of my other videos, and I have also been putting this to the test in terms of like wearability and all that. The new Full Satin Lipstick line by Catrice is like a cream formula. I think these have replaced the older Ultimate Color line that Catrice used to do. So Catrice already used to do like a shine line and like a creamy formula, and I think this is the replacement for that creamy formula. It's very much on par with the quality that I am expecting from Catrice by now. They do some lovely lipsticks and they are one of my favorite drugstore lipstick brands. This Full of Passion shade, I have to say, was really nice. In terms of wearability, it is very comparable to the old Ultimate Color line because these last until like lunchtime and then you do need to reapply them. Because the minute you eat food or you really have a couple of drinks, this will disappear. It's not a matte formula that like settles down and then doesn't budge. This is the kind of formula that's just very comfortable on the lips, has good color payoff, but doesn't really last all that long. So I would definitely veer towards like the nudes in this line and not so much the reds and the berries that it has, because it seems to then be a little trickier in terms of like transferring and bleeding and all that sort of thing. I haven't had that experience with the ones that I have though, but you do have to be a bit more careful if a darker shade comes in a creamy formula. That's just my experience. So let's just get started with the first one. This is 010 Full of Optimism. So every single one of these shade names is like full of with an adjective. And this is a super pale peachy shade, and you know how I feel about super pale peachy shades. They are not my favorite. These kind of shades usually aren't too flattering on me, but this one I haven't tried on yet, precisely for that reason. It's just not my favorite. So it seems to have a bit of pink. It's like a super light coral almost, looking at it on the back of my hand. So let's just see how this applies on my lips. So there we have Full of Optimism. As I said, it is a very light peachy shade, which is just not my cup of tea. This, I feel, just drains me too much. I have pretty fair skin, I have a neutral undertone, so this warmish peachy shade just looks a bit off against my complexion. That's just how I feel. Also, in terms of coverage that this gives, I have naturally pretty pigmented lips that have a bit of purple in them. And I feel that this, even though it has good payoff, I can still see that purpliness coming through in this lipstick, and that's what I wouldn't want. Is it the most horrible shade ever? Not necessarily, but this is just a little bit too much like concealer-like lips to me, and I feel that that was very sort of like 2010. So not something that I'm currently into. But if very pale nudes suit you and you're looking for something like that from the drugstore, then these can be nice. Did I already mention how expensive these were? These are $3.99. The next one is 020, and this is Full of Dreams. And this is like a pinky nude, I would say. I think this is one of my like shades that really stands out to me. These kind of shades usually look really nice on me. And this is, let me just see how it swatches. Yeah, it's like a more pinky, rosy version of this one. So let's just see how this applies to the lips. So that would be Full of Dreams. As I mentioned, this is a pinky nude. Goes really nice with the pillow in the background. It's sort of like that really dusty millennial pink kind of shade, but for your lips. It is definitely darker than the first one, which means this has much better color payoff on me. I do not see any purpliness from my natural lip color coming through this, and I feel that this is very natural. This is a very easy to wear, wearable shade for me. I'm wearing a very super neutral eye today because I want to show you these lipsticks, of course. And I feel that this goes with it really well. So it's a neutral eye, still a neutral lip. So if you want to tone things down a little bit, then I think this is a very nice one. Now for the one that I've already tried, this is 030 Full of Passion, as I already mentioned. And this is what I would categorize as a mauve tone nude. It very much reminds me of like Max Mare, which is one of my favorite all-time lipstick shades. So I'm very happy that Catrice is now doing something like that. So as you can see, if you put it next to the other two, this definitely has more of like a purpley undertone to it, making it more of a mauve. It's again a hair darker than the pink though. So this definitely has sort of like a gradation going from like very light to darker and darker. And it has a couple of brighter shades as well in the line. So let's see what this looks like on. So there we have Full of Passion, and as I already predicted, this would look stunning on me. This was also the shade I picked in my full face of Catrice to wear to try it out for the first time. This definitely has that purpley undertone, and because I have that purpliness already in my lips, this works on me like a My Lips but better kind of shade. So this really sort of amps it up, and I feel that like in terms of like then wearing a neutral eye and this lipstick, it really brings more life to my complexion than the pinky one did. So for me, this would be like probably one of my favorite and most worn shades in this entire lineup because it's just like one of those things that suits me very well. If you're not into like purpley undertone pinks, then this may not be right for you. I would definitely give this a swatch in the store first to see if you might like it, because I don't think this is a shade that will be suited for everyone. Next up would be 040, and this is Full of Inspiration. So this is what that lipstick looks like. And as you can tell, this is more like a brownie nude, but it seems to perhaps have a bit of red in there. Let me see how this swatches. Yeah, so this is like a warm tone brown, a little bit like Velvet Teddy-ish, but not as light. I think it would be darker than that. But this, again, would be a shade that I like quite a lot. I quite like reddish tone nudes on myself because I also really like reds on myself as well. So you'll see that in a minute because there are two reds in this collection. But I've forgotten the shade name. Full of Inspiration is, I think, another very wearable shade that a lot of people might flatter. That will be flattering to a lot of people. So Full of Inspiration definitely has that reddish undertone. It is a brown, but it's not too brown. It has that like pinky reddish tone to it, and I really like that on myself. Again, I think that this again makes my look come alive a lot more than the two lighter shades that were here. I think actually by now this is the one that suits the look that I'm wearing the best. Because I'm wearing sort of like a brown toned eye, and this like brown toned lipstick I think goes really well with it. So this, I quite like it. Actually on my lips, now that I'm looking at a little bit more closely, it seems to have a little bit of a hint of plum to it. This is a very unique shade. I don't think I have anything else like this. Right, next up is 050. This is Full of Happiness. And this is where we get more into like the brighter shades, because this is like a peach. This is I cannot describe it in any other way than a peach. I don't look the best in peach lipstick, I think. I like peach blush on me, but since I have a cool to neutral undertone, I find that peaches and corals can be a little bit draining on me. It really has to go with the look. So maybe this looks nice because I am wearing a neutral eye. So let's just see what this swatch is like. Ooh, this is quite bright actually. Look at that. It's very bright for a peach. It's like a very, well, maybe it's just a coral then. Like a corally pink, almost. Looks very different from the bullet. Like I wouldn't guess, looking at the bullet, that that's the shade I would get on the back of my hand. Of course, swatching lipsticks on the back of your hand doesn't mean they go on the same way onto your lips though. So that is something to bear in mind because, especially if you're in a store, your hand is usually a lot lighter than your lips, like your lip color, so. So 050 Full of Happiness, I think it's quite a flattering shade on me. It's not terrible. But I wouldn't wear this a lot, and I'll tell you why. Because on the sticker, it says that like it looks like it has glitters, like glittery particles on a sticker. And in the bullet, I don't see them. In the swatch, I don't see it either. But when I first applied it to my lips, I was like, oh yeah, that definitely has some sort of like particle in it, some sort of mica that reflects the light. So this is the first one. I think there is one more that has that glittery sticker kind of thing that isn't actually a cream, but that has like more sheen to it. That it doesn't have noticeable sparkle anywhere, but that just has a little bit more glow. And that is why I don't like this shade, because that glow combined with this shade, grandma. This is the kind of shade that I think was very, very sort of popular and flattering in like the 1950s. So this is not very sort of like a very modern shade. In fact, now I'm looking at it very closely, I feel that sheen is almost golden. So on me, this is just not the best. It's just not the best shade ever. Right, moving on to the other 5, and this is where we get some really bright pops of color. We have 060 Full of Joy. Woo! This is quite bright. This veers towards peachy neon. This has a very strong white base to it. I can really tell just from looking at it in the bullet. So if I swatch this here, ooh yeah, look at that. That just jumps out at you straight away. And I do like a bit of neon on my lips, I have to say. But I do have to say, again, like this shade, it's very close to that actually. This is a bit more orange perhaps, but it's both like a coral with this being a bit more muted and having that sheen. This is a full-on cream. It doesn't have any glittery particles in the sticker. And this is definitely a bit full-on. So again, this can be flattering on me, but only with the right look. .060 Full of Joy, as I predicted, is quite bright on the lip. Because it has that light white base to it, I again feel this doesn't have the opacity like the first one we tried that I would want a lipstick to have. This again has a bit of that purpliness, especially in my bottom lip, coming through. So this doesn't go on opaque for me, and I feel that this shade just kind of makes me look extra pale. I think if you have a deep skin tone, this will be gorgeous on you. Or in the summer, if you have a very deep tan, this can look pretty too. I don't really tan very much other than like maybe one shade darker than this, so I just don't tan. So that's like, I don't get any color from the sun, or like it's a no-go for me. So this, not really suited to my lipstick preferences, you could say, but I can see that this lipstick can work really well on people with a much deeper skin tone than mine. Next up, the first of the reds. This is 070, and this is Full of Love. And I think that this may be the brighter of the two. I think there is one that's a bit brighter and blue toned, and one that's a bit more dark, like a little bit deeper leaning. But this looks like my kind of shade. This is the kind of red that I really like in the summertime because it's just really bright and poppy. And then I tend to like reds like this. So let me swatch this. Oh yeah. There we go. Boom. Really nice, really bright red. It seems to be more pinky toned than blue toned though. It seems to have quite a bit of pink to it, which I like. So again, spring, summertime, I like pink toned reds. So there we have 070 Full of Love. Need I say more? I love this lipstick. I love shades like this on me. This is perhaps a little brighter than I normally would go to, so I hope that the next one is a bit deeper and more blue toned, because then it's more of like a classic red. This is more of like a statement red that you wear with certain looks, certain outfits. I think that with this neutral eye that I'm wearing, it's a bit of a clash because the red is a lot warmer than what I have going on my eyes. So this I would wear a little bit more perhaps with like a bronzy eye or a golden toned eye. This will be really, really stunning. So this is 070 Full of Love. So far, again, one that I think I will reach for quite a bit. Next up, is 080 Full of Life. Ooh, no, this isn't a red. I thought that there was going to be at least another red, but this seems to be a very hot fuchsia pink. So the shade range doesn't seem to have a classic basic red, which is a bit of a shame. But this pink is also not as bright as I would expect from the bullet. Like, again, if you look at that, it looks a lot darker and a lot more blue toned than what I get on the back of my hand. This just seems to be like the kind of pink, bright pink shade that you probably already have a million times over in your lipstick collection, let's be honest. So I think this shade 080 Full of Life is pretty on, especially with this eye, and I think it clashes quite nicely with the lilac in my sweater today. But this shade is just not revolutionary. I think it goes for most of the shades, actually. I think that most lipstick lines, even Catrice themselves, have these kind of shades in other lines that they do. This is a really nice, bright, sort of like in-your-face kind of pink. So if that's something that you would like to try at a more affordable price point, then I do recommend this because it has a very nice creamy formula and all that, but this is just not really anything too special to me. So I hope this will go well because this is our next lipstick and this seems to be quite pale. This is 090 Full of Adventure, and this is a very pale lavender, and my lips got a little bit stained from the darker shades we just saw. So I hope that this will go well. I'm not sure if this, I don't think this will be very flattering. I have found that I can sort of pull off navy blue, kind of, and I can sort of pull off bright violets, but these like very pale lavendery shades, again, with my pale skin, it probably won't go, and I'm wearing a lavender sweater. So let's see if this is very draining or not. Ooh, wow, that has a very strong white base to it. Do you see that? Wow, it's like a very pale pastel purple. This is definitely a more unique shade. You can definitely say that. So far, that pink is the most boring shade, I think, in this entire line. This is quite possibly the most exciting one. As I predicted, Full of Adventure, not my cup of tea. It's just a little bit too light for me to really give the opacity that I like. And where that corally shade right here had a lot of sheen to it, but that was at least still announced on the sticker, this does not. Also in the swatch, it doesn't seem to have a very strong sheen. But then on the lips, do you see how it has that like frostiness to it? Talking about dated lipstick colors, that coral shade I feel is very dated, and this as well. Like, I thought we were over all of these very pale frosty shades, but apparently Catrice isn't. This is, I mean, I think it still goes. It still goes. It has on my lips, but that could also be the fact that I put it over my already stained lips. It seems to have a bit of like a pink tone to it, but it also looks quite blue. So I just feel that the way this looks, it's like your lips went like that bluish purple because you are too cold. That's what this reminds me of. Like, if I look at it in the mirror, it's not the worst thing ever. It's definitely more of like an editorial take on a lipstick color, but this is not your everyday lipstick shade. Let's just put it at that. And then the last one, last but not least, 100 Full of Power. And this seems to be a pretty dark red. And I hope this is actually a red, because I've had experience with Catrice darker lipsticks in the past that then they pull quite plummy. But this looks like a dark red in the tube, and that would be exciting because I don't have a lot of these like super dark, true reds. Very often they are very berry on me. Oh yeah, this seems to be very red. But on my plummy lips, it may pull more plum. Do you see that that's not super purple for such a dark shade? It definitely leans more red than it does purple. So let's see how this applies to the lips. So that would be Full of Power, and I think this is a gorgeous shade. It's definitely not too plum, but it does have a hint of purple to it. The way I would describe this is like a very ripe raspberry kind of shade. You know, that sort of like point where a raspberry is so ripe that it tends to lean a little bit more purpley almost? That's what this shade reminds me of. So Full of Power is, I think, a really stunning one. I have no issues with that. So let's talk about these shades for a minute. My favorite ones would have to be this like mauve-y nude, that brownie nude. It looks very brown compared to all of these other shades. I really like the red on me, and I like this deep shade. The other ones, to me, not my favorite. Definitely not that purpley shade and that corally shade, just because they have that very frosty sheen to it. It's just not my cup of tea. If you're really into that, then go for it. They of course try to make a line that has a little bit for everyone, and that's why I'm showing these things. I do think that this purpley shade can look really fun if you're doing like Instagram makeup, or if you're like doing makeup for more creative purposes, but for everyday life, this is not the shade you're going to wear a ton. I definitely think that that would fall into this top row category for sure. This neon shade, very stunning, but not really great for my skin tone. And this pink is just the kind of pink that I feel we've seen a lot, just a million times over, and just not very necessary to have. So I definitely have my favorites in here. Let me know what your favorites are in a comment down below. I hope you felt that this video was helpful for you. I do really hope that me showing you everything going on gives you a better idea of this lipstick line. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make 3 new videos a week, and I feature lots of Catrice content on my channel. So stay tuned for more things coming your way, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Have a great day. Bye.